Today's video will be covering the experience coming into London, UK from an amber country. All of the requirements specifically for COVID are listed here on the gov't.uk/UK-border-control website. Go and check this website before you leave. This video is shot on 30 June 2021. The countries are constantly shifting between green, amber, red lists, and new rules from the Home Office and from the legislature are integrated into this as a consolidated customs requirements page. The way the website is laid out is that you end up clicking through a bunch of these links into about 15 different areas to get all the information. What I've done is I've compiled this into a list of that I use to come into the country. So I'll be going over that list with you. There's basically three requirements when you're coming in from an amber country. On the site, you just scroll down here, find out which list you're on. This will take you to the green, red, amber lists. I'll scroll down here to the amber section. The basic three requirements you have are listed here. You have to take a COVID-19 test in your country of origin within 3 days of your departure. The way that the UK government regulates, or the way that they regulate this is that they have listed here a minimum effectiveness standard of the test, and then it is upon you to meet this requirement, and then they have heavy penalties if you don't take the test. It's a fine if you show the normal sort of laboratory tests that you get, like PCR tests, RNA tests, are adequate and meet this standard. I'm guessing that the quick self-test, the pregnancy-style tests, probably do not meet this standard, but the way they word it is the onus is upon you, and if you don't meet this standard, A, you won't be allowed in the country, and B, they threaten to fine you. So just whatever your country of origin's COVID infrastructure is, just figure out how to go get a laboratory test. They're able to get the results within a couple of days. And what I did is I printed out everything because it's so much easier to just hand these people the printouts of your test results and printouts of your passenger locator form. So the second thing that you have to do is complete a passenger locator form. So the basic fields within this passenger locator form, which you click here, fill out passenger locator form. Let's see, where is it? There's a start link. Start now. You click here and just go through the process. If you, of course, need your trip details, your passport info, normal kinds of custom declaration stuff. And then the COVID specific things you need is you need to put in your flight number. It asks you for your seat number, but you don't really need that. You don't have to pay the airline that extra couple bucks to get a seat reserved. I didn't put that in, and it wasn't a problem because I didn't pay the extra money to the airline. You'll need to, and we'll go over this in a separate section, you need to book your 2-day and 8-day tests. And there's a COVID test booking reference that they will give you that each of these providers is registered with the UK government, and so they have it all in a computer tracking system. You'll need to know the address that you're going to do your 10-day quarantine at, and they'll ask you for a phone number and an alternate phone number. And these numbers, they will actually call you when you're in the UK and ask a bunch of questions. It's an outsourced call. It's some operator from India that is just meeting the Home Office requirements. But and you say yes to a bunch of legal gobbledygook and say, yes, I am quarantined in place. No, I do not have symptoms, like stuff like that. Yes, I understand this call is being recorded. Other than that, the passenger locator form is pretty straightforward. I'll go over the tests here in a little bit because that section is a little bit of a mess. But for right now, the experience of actually coming through customs into London, here's what to expect. Before you can get on the plane, in the usual, I was coming from Norway. Norway is an amber country, just like the United States, just like most EU countries. Usually, you go and you swipe your passport on the little self-service kiosk and it prints out your boarding pass. It just flagged to go and talk to a person in order to get the boarding passes printed. That person checked my COVID test to make sure that I had that before I got on the plane, and then they printed out my boarding pass. Boarding at my country of origin was simple. I was flying KLM, so that flew into AMS, which is the Amsterdam airport. Then the connecting flight, which is the final leg into London, they had an entire boarding gate sectioned off with KLM employees trained in the UK customs protocols. They had in this entire boarding gate area, they had a whole bunch. They had a passenger funnel, a bunch of tables with attendants with a computer screen that you give your COVID test to and your passenger locator form. They check it with your passport, and they check that you're the person on the passport. They look it up in the computer. I was traveling with my 5-year-old son. The passenger locator form has a section for kids, so you don't have to fill out a separate area for them. I don't know what the cutoff is, whether it's 12 or 18. You'll just have to go through that when you fill out your passenger locator form. My son is 5 years old, so it worked just fine for me. They will validate your passenger locator form and all the details, your COVID tests and your test booking, and that's in the system. And then that's the main COVID customs check that they do for entering the UK. It was nice that they put the boarding time as a full hour before when my airplane took off, because I knew that every passenger has to go through this, and it takes quite a bit of time. And when I got through, I went and sat on. I ended up sitting on the airplane for 45 minutes or so, and then it took off. And then when you come through UK customs, it's just the normal. Walking through the customs line, show them your passport. They'll ask you the normal questions of how long is your trip going to be, who are you visiting, just a normal kind of customs check. There's no COVID specific stuff once you actually get to London. That's all done at your airport of departure on your final leg to London. And so that's what the experience of coming in is. And then, of course, you're expected to travel to your quarantine location and stay there. So in a nutshell, that's the experience of coming into the UK from an amber country. I'm just checking my notes real quick to see if there's anything that I left out. When you're there, you will be self-quarantining, and they will call you. They'll call the primary and secondary numbers that you have left on your passenger locator form. They'll ask you They have all the information. In the UK, you have to watch out for scam calls. I got one of these too, trying it failed to transfer me to an operator, but it'll be a scare tactic to say we're going to revoke this and it'll get you scared. So what to expect from the call? It's an outsourced call. The Home Office outsources this to it's obviously an Indian call center, and they'll ask you your year of birth, and I forget. There's one other little piece of information they validate, but they basically read a script that you say, yes, I don't mind if this is being recorded. Yes, I understand. I am quarantining in place. I verify that. And then they read off a whole bunch of stuff that is, if you get sick, here's the contact. And they actually read out the websites. You'll never remember it. You're not going to write it down. Just if you do end up getting sick, just call I believe 999 is the emergency number, and I forget what the police number is, but you can call 999 and say this is not an emergency call. I need to call the police, or I have COVID. Who do I call? And then 999 will give you the number. So that's kind of the full expectations of coming into London. I will do a separate video on selecting the COVID tests, because it's a bit of a mess. The UK government has basically created a monopoly funnel, and then you have all these clinics kind of vying to be at the top of the list for you to click on their stuff. All of them have terrible customer service. All of them are kind of like bait and switch offers of low deals. You're going to end up paying about 200 pounds for. I got a package that had the 2 and 8, and as well as the 5-day test. There may be, I'll go through a whole separate video. And then in a few days, I've already gone through my day two test, so I'll review that in the separate video, and then I'll create a separate video on say day 8 after I've completed my day 5 test to release, this to just advise what the best thing on that is.